Respected Principal Madam Srimati Sita Lakshmi, Honorable Chief Guest Dr. K.U. Amudan Sir, esteemed Vice Principal Madam Srimati Kirubavadi, Academic Supervisor Mr. Saravakumar Sir, and the teachers of Department of Mathematics and my dear friends, happy morning to you all. Let's first invoke God's blessings and guidance to make this session a fruitful one. Silent prayer. Thank you. Life is full of choices. For foremost, we should have a knowledge of the choices available, and next, the potential and drive within us to decide on the choices to adopt a successful career. To achieve this, an experienced, qualified, and expertise guide is indispensable to lead and shape us for the career. With this good motive, this career guidance session on crafting your career in science and mathematics has been arranged, and I request Master R. Nishant of Standard 11 to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. I'm R. Nishant of Standard 11. I'm here to welcome you all in this special occasion. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. Such a leader who is none other than our correspondent, C.S. Ramesh. I welcome you, sir. A truly amazing principle. It's hard to find, difficult to part with, and impossible to forget. Such an amazing principle, Mrs. S. Sita Lakshmi. I welcome you, ma'am. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is a progress. Working together is a success. Such a successful vice principal, Mrs. Kribavadi. I welcome you, ma'am. Having an inspiration is very easy, but being an inspiration is very difficult. Such an inspiration to us, our headmistress, Mrs. Lava Siraviam. I welcome you, ma'am. Your positive action combined with positive thinking results in success. Such a successful person, Dr. K.U. Amudan, postdoctoral researcher, Delft University of Technology, Netherlands. I welcome you, sir. I cordially welcome Mrs. Jasin Jagada, Academic Supervisor of Physical Science Department, and Mr. Saravana Kumar, Academic Supervisor of Mathematics Department, to this special occasion. A good teacher is a doctor who heals important and an artist who inspires creativity. I render my heartful welcome to all the teachers of Standard 11 and 12. I welcome all the parents and the well-wishers with immense pleasure and gratitude. Last but not least, I welcome all my friends to this wonderful celebration. Once again, I sincerely welcome you all to this grand occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishant, for your warm note of welcome. In this great morning, I take it an honor to invite our beloved Madam Vice Principal to deliver the presidential address, who has been a great source of inspiration to conduct such beneficial session.
Okay, Abhishek. So, ma'am is busy with some other school work. You can continue. Abhishek, continue. She will not be able to join. She will join later. Okay.
Okay, sir. In this lovely morning, I welcome our dynamic academic supervisor, ma'am, Mrs. B. Jacinth Jagada, Department of Physical Science, to deliver the inaugural address.
Good morning, everyone. Respected Principal Madam, Mrs. S. Sita Lakshmi, esteemed Vice Principal Academics, Mrs. N. Gribavati, Academic Supervisor of Maths Department, Mr. R. Saravanakumar, parents, teachers, and my dear students, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome the Chief Guest, Dr. K.U. Amudan, alumnus of our esteemed institution. Our management regularly conducts student enrichment program for the students to realize their potential and try new things to explore and develop themselves beyond the classroom. As the students are now at the verge of schooling, their mind is now filled with the big question of how to choose their right career. In general, most of the students' attention is on the professional courses like engineering and medicine. They are less aware of the courses on basic sciences and mathematics that have more career opportunities. So it is the right time for the younger generation to opt for the future, that is for the science stream, as the future world and economy rely mainly on scientific innovation and technology. Dear students, this session is specially arranged for you to widen your career perspective. So you are really privileged to have Dr. Amudan, postdoctoral researcher, Delft University, Netherlands, amidst us to guide you in choosing the right career in your life. Make use of this rare opportunity in a fruitful way. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am, for your informative address. Now I request our dedicated academic supervisor, sir, Mr. Saravana Kumar, Department of Mathematics, to introduce the resource person and honorable chief guest.
Thank you, Abhishek. A bright morning to one and all present here. I feel much privileged to introduce Dr. Amudan, postdoc researcher, Delft University of Technology, the Netherlands. Dr. Amudan completed his integrated MSc in mathematics from National Institute of Science Education and Research, Bhubaneswar, in the year 2015. He pursued his doctoral research in mathematics from Texas A&M University, United States, in the year 2020. He is also working as graduate assistant at Texas University since 2015. He has been teaching real analysis, classical analysis, topology, and applied mathematics to his students. His main areas of expertise are operator theory, free probability, and operator algebras. He has also got work experience in MATLAB and Python lab. He has published several articles, research articles in reputed journals like Journal of Functional Analysis and of American Mathematical Society. Apart from research, teaching, and mentoring, he has extended his service to outreach programs. He is a volunteer of Math Circle at Texas University. He has conducted training programs in mathematics at NISER. He has helped, organized, and assisted in running activities aimed at students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. He has received fellowships, awards from various institutions like UGC, National Board for Higher Mathematics, Indian Academy of Sciences, and Department of Science and Technology. He was invited for talks at international forums like University of Florida, University of California, Texas A&M University, and Delft University. Currently, he is a postdoc researcher at Delft University of Technology, Netherlands. We have amidst us inspiring young researcher of mathematics who is also an outstanding alumnus of SBOA Matriculation Higher Secondary School, Madurai. There is a well-known proverb in Tamil, Nirai Gudam Neer Talumbadu. Dr. Amudan is an example for this proverb. He is a man of simplicity, distinct vision, and an inspiration to all of us. With these few words of introduction, on behalf of all our teachers, I invite Amudan to this virtual forum. Over to Abhishek.
Thank you, sir. Now I call upon our chief guest, Dr. K.U. Amudan.
Thank you, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I mean, even if it is only virtually, I'm very happy to be back at school. Okay, maybe I should. Sorry. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, screen is visible, sir.
Okay. Okay. So briefly, sorry, is my screen still visible? I think it disappeared.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
It's visible. Okay,
One
thank you.
minute. 1
Okay.
minute. Amudan, 1 minute. Suppose if it is not visible,
Yes.
you can see in the participants, there will be two Amudans. Amudan's name will occur twice. One is his camera screen, another one is presentation. You just pin his presentation, you will be able to see. You can see two Amudan presentation, you have to pin it. Thank you, students. Thank you, Amudan. You can.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you very much for for inviting me back. It's a great pleasure. Okay, I think Sarma Kumar sir already went over a little bit. I just want to mention, I was at SBOA Madurai for a very long time. I joined in 1999 when I was in my second standard, and I finished 12th in 2010. So I was there for a long time. So I have very fond memories of the place. In the course of my education and career, I ended up traveling a lot. I went to Bhubaneswar in Orissa for my integrated MSc. I studied mathematics, and then I went to the United States. I went to Texas for my PhD, and now I'm in the Netherlands. My research is actually it's on some. It's actually maybe understandable to you because you have certainly seen. You must have seen matrices in. I think 10th standard is when I was introduced to it. So what I study are essentially matrices with infinite rows and columns and properties of those things. Anyway, that is not the point of this. What I want to tell you, the main takeaway is there are options beyond engineering and medicine. These are not the only things you can do, right? I feel this has to be said because even though, so things are a little better now than it was 10 years ago when I was finishing school. But still, I think it is largely limited to, people feel they are limited to engineering and medicine. So I really want to emphasize this. There are viable options. Okay. So here are some reasons you might want to consider getting a degree in science. The first, and I think the foremost reason should be your intellectual curiosity. That is, if you really do enjoy learning how the world works and figuring out portions of it, there is really no substitute for education in science. Engineering is fine, engineering is good, medicine is good, but well, I have not studied engineering, but from my conversations with people who have, my understanding is that this really gets satisfied only when you study science. Okay, but I mean, this alone is not going to be a sufficient reason. So why else might you want to do this? because there are plenty of viable career paths. If you study science, it's not necessary that you have to go on to become a scientist in the traditional term, right? I ended up doing this. I am on my career is that of a research scientist in mathematics. But this is not the only option. I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but you can branch out. In fact, you can even, if you take a basic science degree, it is also possible to, if you then decide that this is not for you, it is possible to branch back into things like programming. This is perfectly doable. I know lots of people who have done it. But you can also stay in science and work in something related. Well, another reason is I would consider at least is that science in India is not as saturated as engineering courses. There is enormous competition to get into engineering courses. There's still a lot of competition to get into science, good science places, but it is comparatively less, which means the probability that you can get into a good college is higher. This is actually, I believe, how I got into my college, right? I went to a national institute. I believe the only reason I was able to do so without lot of extensive preparation is because at that time, not many people were opting to do so. This was great for me. So the competition has increased over the last 10 years, but it is still something you need to keep in mind. It is far better to study something else at a good place rather than what you had initially had in mind in a very mediocre place. Because often, if you go to a really, really mediocre place, you might actually, your motivation might actually end up being killed. Whereas you might, if you go to a good or exceptional place, you might find that it actually stimulates your curiosity and you get more interested in the subject. Okay. Well, another reason is that it is comparatively cheaper to do a degree in science because there are a lot of fellowship opportunities, and B, engineering. Well, partly because of the previous option that engineering courses are very hard to get into. Science, they want to try and encourage people to go into science. So the fees tend to be lower and there are more funding opportunities. I mean, you shouldn't choose a path just for this, but it is certainly something to keep in mind, right? So for instance, during my entire education, my 5 years of my MSc, I didn't pay a single thing. In fact, I got paid for my living expenses. And well, a PhD is always funded. You don't have to do a PhD, but certainly for doing my MSc, I was completely funded. My parents paid zero out of pocket. So, okay, something to keep in mind. That's not the only thing, but it is something to keep in mind. And I guess finally, a career in science can really be mentally and emotionally satisfactory in a way that a corporate career is not. Because you're really doing something that you love. you are doing something that might actually have a positive impact on the world, as opposed to being under corporate pressure. This is not to say that it's easy. There's certainly a lot of pressure and stress in any career, but I believe it can be mentally satisfactory on a level that other careers are not. Most of the careers are not. Okay. All right. Having said all this, what can you actually do with a science degree, right? Well, I guess the first, in a way, the most common option is you can teach. Now, you can certainly teach with a BSc in plenty of good places. But depending on the level of students you want to teach, so if you want to teach if you want to teach other undergraduate students, you will certainly need something like an MSc, or depending on the college, you might need to do some sort of B.Ed or something of that sort. But you will certainly need higher qualifications. And if you want to teach at a university level, you will almost certainly require a PhD. Okay. But this can be, in my experience, so I taught for the 5 years I did my PhD. I was teaching undergraduate students. I was teaching first and second year college students. This was an extremely rewarding experience for me. I really loved the opportunity to mentor and train these bright young minds. I mean, certainly I would not be where I am today without my teachers, including my school teachers. So it can be extremely rewarding if you want to consider a career in teaching. But certainly this is not the only thing you can do. You can, the other common thing is to go into research, right? Now, doing research will definitely require you to do an MSc, which is, so it's going to be 3 years of a BSc plus maybe 2 years of an MSc. And very likely research will also require a PhD. Now, I want to maybe mention a few things because this is not widely known. PhDs, you should not think of doing a PhD. Some people are discouraged by the idea of going into science because they think, oh, you have to do 3 years, then 2 years, 3 years of bachelor's plus 2 years of MSc, plus maybe 5 years of more study. But really, a PhD, you should not think of it as study. It is research work. You are doing a job which involves research. So you get paid during a PhD. This is something a surprising number of people do not know. You get paid as a PhD fellow. So in my case, I got paid because I was also a PhD fellow and a teaching fellow. So you are actually working. So you should not think of this as having to study for 10 years more after school. That is not the case. Okay. Research career can actually really, really satisfy your intellect. And the great thing is you get paid for it. What I do now is just work on mathematics. And I get paid for it. I wouldn't say I contribute to humanity's progress. Mathematics is too abstract for this. But certainly if you're doing something more applied, if you're doing biology or chemistry or physics, some sort of physics, you can also be really satisfied that you are helping humanity as a whole progress, right? Okay, so research can mean a variety of positions. It can mean getting into a university as a professor, but it can also mean being a research scientist at various government labs, right? So there's the DRDO, for instance, which is the India's defense research organization. There's the CSIR, which is actually not one institute, but it's a collection of institutes across India called it's run by the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research. There's the Baba Atomic Research Center. So it manages some of India's nuclear reactors. So there are a lot of government labs which actually need research scientists and not just engineers. Or you can certainly do research as part of a private company's R&D unit. And this is research. This is going to be working on fundamental science. You are trying to discover new things. So for instance, a lot of private companies now are also opening pure research units in India. So Microsoft Research has an excellent position, excellent group at Bangalore. They do research on artificial intelligence and so on. Google has some, but a lot of other companies also have, like, so among this, I want to mention that ISRO is also one such. I would also consider it a government lab in a sense. Okay, so you can, research positions are in a lot of demand. You can find plenty of places where you can get paid to do research. But that is, of course, not the only option. You can also go into industry. This will definitely require an MSc. You can go into industry with a BS. Sorry, I should not say definitely. Will almost certainly require an MSc. You can go into industry jobs with a BSc. I know people who have, but if you're going into one with a BSc, you will. So one thing to keep in mind is a BSc is just 3 years, right? A BTech is 4. A BE is 4. Now, that's one less year of education you're getting. Plus, if you want to switch into more applied things, sometimes you will have to pick up some of the skills by yourself. So it helps to do an MSc where you can specialize in something, maybe work on a research project related to what you want to go into. So an MSc is a huge advantage. So slightly related, I would recommend that if you are considering a science degree, you consider a degree in basic science. So by that, I mean maths, physics, chemistry, biology. There are more specialized science courses. There's like, I know a lot of places in India, for instance, offer a BSc in biotechnology. This may seem attractive, but it has the drawback that your fundamentals don't get as strong. So if you are considering this, I would recommend first going for a basic science degree in a good place and then specializing during your MSc. But certainly that there are places which have excellent specialized courses in BSc as well. But by and large, it is better to do something basic first. Okay, so if you want to go into industry, a PhD is useful. It's not necessary. So in fact, I know an executive at Dell Computers. She told me that she would rather hire a PhD in basic science who has zero coding experience than hire someone who has done an engineering degree. Because doing a PhD, doing an MSc, doing research really indicates that you are capable of learning by yourself. You are capable of figuring out what needs to be solved and how to solve it. And often that is what people are looking for. It's not that people in industry are looking for, oh, you need to know this particular programming language or this particular method. What they're looking for often is your ability to quickly learn things and apply the knowledge. And a PhD or a research project is a great indicator of that. So industry is a very, very broad term. There is a variety of positions. There's too many to list. I'm just going to mention what some of my friends are doing just in that context. There's so many things you can do. You can become a science, you can become a science journalist, for instance. You could, if you study something like chemistry or biology, you can go into the pharmaceutical industry. I have friends who are working on drug discovery, so they're really. It's nice becoming a doctor, but you're just going to be the one who is prescribing the medicines. The person who is inventing the medicines is actually a scientist. So I have friends who work in the pharmaceutical industry on drug discovery. In fact, the COVID vaccine the COVID vaccine would not exist if not for people being curious and going into science, right? So you can do that. I know people who work on environmental studies, so they help governments and companies plan they help them understand how their actions are impacting the environment and help them figure out a way to reduce their impacts. You could, I have friends who work at the Baba Atomic Research Center. So after various, and there are various industries related to scientific research in that aspect. So, for example, I have friends who work on. I actually have a friend who works at an aerospace company, helping them design newer types of planes by. She did a PhD in physics and then went on to work in the aerospace industry. So there are plenty of options. I have people who work with Microsoft. I know people who work with Microsoft on helping them develop a quantum computer. And this is something you definitely need a research background for. Okay, so there are plenty of options, and depending on the field of specialization you choose, there are tons of options. But this is not really something you need to. So my point is, you don't have to choose what you want to be in the future. It's that there are a lot of options. So if you do consider a science degree, know that it's not just restricted to being a scientist, in quotes. Okay. Very brief reasons why you should consider a science degree. The more relevant question for you maybe now is, where can you do one? I want to first advertise my alma mater, my college, which is the National Institute of Science, Education and Research in Bhubaneswar. This is run by the national government. It is actually run by the Department of Atomic Energy. They offer a 5-year MSc course. So this is a great option because, as I mentioned, an MSc is often a great advantage. So if you can get into an integrated course, you don't have to worry about applying again and finding another place. And it helps. In an integrated course, you are actually going to learn more because you can directly start specializing after your 3rd year. Okay, so NICER offers specializations in the 4 basic sciences: maths, physics, chemistry, and biology. The way to get into NICER is through a separate entrance exam. There's a link over here. I will maybe share my slides with Sir, and he can forward them to you later if you're interested. So this has a separate entrance exam. Here's the website of the institute. So this is in Orissa. There are very similar institutes. The name is a little different. They're called the Indian Institutes of Science Education and Research. So far, there are 7 of them. More are being planned. So there's one in Berhampur in Orissa. There's one in Bhopal, in Kolkata, Mohali, Pune, Trivandrum, and in Tirupati. These are all also excellent places. They also give you a 5-year integrated MSc course. Some of them also offer things apart from maths, physics, chemistry, and bio. They offer you things in earth sciences or computer science, some of them. So the entrance to the ICERs is really through 3 streams. So here's the link which has the details. They have a separate entrance exam. So for this, to qualify for the entrance exam, you first need to have a minimum cutoff in your 10th and +2 marks. I think all of you will easily be able to achieve that cutoff. So there's an entrance exam. If you achieve a certain IIT JEE rank, that is also going to give you admission to these places. And if you are a KVPI fellow, I will tell you what this is in a little bit. So KVPI is a government fellowship intended for people who want to do science. So these are all great options if you ever want to consider going into this. Another advantage, I guess, is that usually the top 1/2 or 1/3 of students getting admitted every year to these places receive a full fellowship. All of their expenses are paid for. Another option is at India's, I think, oldest, one of India's oldest and most respected institutes is the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. They have a 4-year Bachelor of Science program. They call it a Bachelor of Science with Research. So you actually conduct research during your BS. And this is actually, I would say, very advantageous compared to doing 3 years plus 2 years of an MSc, right? Because it's a 4-year degree, you actually learn quite a bit, and you can actually directly go into industry if you want after this, or you can directly go to a PhD after this. You don't have to do an MSc in most cases. So they give a variety of specializations in physics, chemistry, maths, bio, materials, and earth and environmental sciences. And the admission to this is also through the KVPY or the IIT JEE merit list or NEET. So I'm guessing many of you are anyway going to attempt the IIT JEE or NEET. So this is something to keep in mind. If you do get something, take a look at the Indian Institute of Science or the ICERs because they also admit students through this merit list. So the KVPI Fellowships, I mentioned this a little before. Let's see. Okay. So the KVPI Fellowship is it's a fellowship to encourage students to study science. They fund you throughout your 5 years of doing a BSc plus MSc. It's completely funded. You get a stipend and a contingency grant as well. And it has 3 different streams. So you can actually give it. So, okay, the link is here. But the KVPI, the great thing is that you can actually apply in your 11th standard. And the deadline for this year is in fact still open. And this is amazing because if you get it in 11th, right, you are guaranteed a spot at either the ICER, at one of the ICERs or at the IAC. So this is, I think the deadline is actually pretty soon for this year for applying for the exam. It's in September. So please take a look at this. I mean, there's no harm in applying and giving the exam. You can always, if you're in, I believe if you're in 12th, also, you can also do it in 12th. If you're in 12th, I think the deadline is still open. So please do take a look at this. Try and think about applying. So it's KVPI. If you just Google the KVPI Fellowship, you should get information actually. And maybe something I am more familiar with. There are other great options for specific to mathematics and statistics. Oh, statistics reminds me. I would consider statistics also basic science. And certainly if you study statistics, you have a lot of options. Lots and lots of places want data analysts and statisticians. In fact, there's something called domain expertise, which is, it is easier to train a mathematician or a statistician to code and do work than it is to train a programmer to teach a programmer like the mathematics necessary to do something very specialized. So a lot of places, and the same thing is true for other areas, right? If you really know a subject very well, it's often you are a better bet than someone who has some broad knowledge but doesn't really know anything about the subject matter. Okay, back to these. There's a great place in Chennai. It's called the Chennai Mathematical Institute. They offer BSc courses in maths and computer science. Their computer science BSc courses are extremely highly regarded. Sorry, someone said something? Is that a question? Okay, so the CMI also has their own entrance exam. There's also the Indian Statistical Institutes in Kolkata and Bangalore. They offer B Math and B Stat degrees. Again, the links are here. They also have their own entrance exams. So certainly, you don't have to commit to doing this, right? So what I did when I finished 12th is I gave all the entrance exams. I wasn't fixed that I'm going to definitely do science. I also gave engineering entrance exams, but because I got into a good place, I considered it. So what I'm saying really is you should keep your options open. And a great way of keeping your options open is to consider maths and science because it lets you specialize further and branch out if you want. Okay, I mean, and apart from all of these things I listed, there are, of course, plenty of other options. There are older colleges. There are universities, not just private colleges, actually. There are a lot of universities in Tamil Nadu, across India, which give you very good science degrees. So you should certainly keep that in mind. This is something you need to consider. Another thing I want to mention here. do not be afraid of leaving the city or leaving the state, right? I know a lot of people will restrict their search to just something within the state, but you should really, especially colleges, when you get to actually meet other people and broaden your minds. So leaving the state, going elsewhere, maybe having to learn another language is actually a great way of doing this. It helps you beyond just the subject matter. So please do not be afraid of leaving the state or even leaving the country if you want to, if you get the opportunity to, and you have the resources to do so. Okay. With that, just want you to have the takeaway that it is engineering and medicine. I'm not saying it is a bad choice, but you should know that there are other viable options, right? So this is my email. Please feel free to write to me if you have any questions. I may not reply immediately, but I will certainly try to reply within a week. So it's kuamudhan@gmail.com. So please write to me if you have any questions. I will be happy to answer. Or even if I don't know the answer, I'm certain that I have friends in various areas who can help find the answer. So if you have any questions about career advice, or even if you're just interested in mathematics and want to know what research mathematics is like, feel free to email me. I can give you some resources. Okay, and I want to end with a quote by my favorite author, Sir Terry Pratchett, which is, "If you trust in yourself and believe in your dreams and follow your star, you will still get beaten by people who spent their time working hard and learning things and weren't so lazy." So takeaway is follow your dreams and do what you're interested in, but really there's actually no substitute for working hard at it. It is not enough to just do something because you like it. You also have to work at it. Okay, with that, I will stop because it's almost 9 o'clock. It's almost 12:30, I think, your time. So let me stop here. Thank you very much. Please let me know if you have any questions now, or you can also email me if you want. Thank you.
Yes, students, if you would like to ask any questions, 1 or 2 questions, you can ask now. Later, if you have any doubts, you can mail Amudhan. Questions, please, or you can put it in chat.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yeah.
So what's the difference or advantage of attempting KVPI in 11th standard or attempting KVPI in 12th standard, sir?
The advantage is that you can do it twice. If you attempt it in 11th and don't get it, you can also give it in 12th. But it will certainly give you an experience of how the exam is and what is happening. And in some ways, 11th is a little easier because they only require knowledge like till what you have done in 10th. 12th is slightly more difficult, I believe, to get into KPI. So if you have the chance to do, if you're in 11th and you have the chance to take the exam, please try to take the exam.
Okay, sir. Still the admissions are open, sir?
Yes. The admissions, the application deadline is September 6th.
Any other questions, students?
September
6th is the application deadline for KVPI.
Thank you, sir, for your clarification.
Oh, sorry, there's something in the chat. Oh, in which branch of mathematics? Oh, so okay, this is. So one thing I want to say, mathematics, like the mathematics you learn in school and research mathematics actually are quite different. But you can work on a variety of things. There's like you can do work on there's broadly many areas. There's something called group theory. If you're maybe you have introduced to groups in 10th or 11th, I don't remember, but you can study. There's something called group theory. There's what I do, which is analysis, which is extensions of. You do calculus, right? This is I do differentiation, but I differentiate not just things in functions on the real line. I differentiate things in infinite dimensions. So there are a lot of research options, but maybe this is too short a time to talk about it. But I can, if you're interested in more details, I can. If you email me, I can send you details. Oh, you cannot admit for KVPI. Oh, data science. What is the use of data science? Well, currently data science seems to be being used everywhere. Pretty much anything is someone trying to do use data science and machine learning to apply make artificial intelligence programs run. The problem is people don't know how it is working. You can write a program to do some machine learning and some data science, but to really understand why things are working, you actually, it is very advantageous to actually learn maths and stats. But data science is everywhere, like especially today, like everywhere, literally everywhere. Everything you think of. Yeah, quantum mechanics is a good thing. In fact, actually, really any research area, most research areas, you don't have to think about specific things in like quantum mechanics or something like this. Because you may find once you actually start learning more details that you like something else. So just keep a broad open mind. But yeah, the quantum mechanics is certainly something in which there's still a lot of research going on. KVPI, I did not know this. Thank you, Deep. If you don't have your 10th percentage, maybe I think because of the COVID situation, they will. I think they are allowing people who have just passed 10th without knowing the percentages. I think they just want the. So you should look at the eligibility page, but I think they are making some allowances because of the COVID situation. Oh, what is artificial intelligence? Okay. Artificial intelligence is broadly using computers to solve problems which you have not actually defined a solution for. So let me give an example. For a long time ago, people developed computer programs which can play chess. But the way they develop those programs is actually telling the computer what are good strategies in chess and letting it, because it was a computer, it could search through a variety of options very fast and pick the best option. Now, what Google has done in the past few years is they develop models which learn by themselves. You tell it you don't tell it, oh, this is a good strategy, this is a good way to play chess. You just tell it how to play chess and then let it learn. So broadly, that is what it is. And so this is useful in things where we don't know exactly what is the right strategies, but maybe if you train a machine on some data, it can figure out what is the best strategy. Which basic science has good scope? Really anything. This is my point. Anything. Science, maths, physics, chemistry. But I would recommend basic science and then specializing, again, because it gives you more options. But so, for instance, maybe broadest is, I would say chemistry, because that helps you. There are many more industry options if you study chemistry, but there's still a lot if you do other sciences. Sorry, what is PYS? Sir, can you please explain us about PYS? Someone has, Meg or Shani has a question.
Is it psychology? Meghavarshini, please unmute and talk to us. Are you asking about psychology or physics?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Sir, I just sent the wrong question. It's about physics, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, you can do variety of things in physics. Physics does not mean. I have friends who use physics to study biology. They study how cells are interacting using physics. You can do physics. You can do experimental physics, like you are actually working in a lab. You can do theoretical stuff, which is a lot like mathematics. You can also do something in between. You can do computational physics. So really lots and lots of options. Interested in collecting data of studies like really like right now I would recommend this, that you make a list of things which you are actually interested in, like subjects area. So I see you have listed like very different things like BStat and BSc Agri. Like these are very different areas, right? So if you're very good at mathematics and you like it, maybe you should consider doing the BStat. On the other hand, if you're not so fond of it, maybe other things are good for you. I would suggest making a list of what you're interested in, and then you apply everywhere you can, and choose the best of that. Right. Sorry, I don't know what mechatronics means. Oh, this is because I am fluent because I would. Okay, one thing I would recommend is maybe, so now you have options actually. Like when I was in school, this was not a thing. Like you have the internet now. You have good internet now. So one way is watch things in English. Watch shows, TV shows, and YouTube videos in English, not short ones. Just watch good shows. Speak. Read English. Read books. Start with, if you're not used to reading fiction, start with reading something small, and pick up the habit of reading. Reading really helps. For the best course after writing JEE, well, it depends on what you want to do. Like there are a lot of places which use JEE to admit you. So the ICES and IISc, I would say, are a very good option because you are with a comparatively lower rank, I think you're going to be able to get into ICER or IISc. But again, it is up to you. If you want to do engineering, you can certainly do that. Yeah, so don't worry too much about it. Okay, one thing, to this point about your English, one thing that may help, this is why I was suggesting this. If you go out of the state to study, you will be forced to improve it. Right? You have to communicate with other people, so you will be forced to improve it. You will also be forced to learn other things like Hindi, which is a good thing. You like learning more languages is good. A PhD in a particular field, I don't understand. You mean in like mathematics or just in general? But really, like my suggestion is don't worry about doing a PhD and everything now. It's far in your future. I'm saying pick a basic science course. I mean, if you get into a great engineering college, go for that. But yeah, courses available in both maths and science for 11th. I don't understand. Is this? Basic science. I by basic sciences, I mean maths, physics, chemistry, and bio. So I'm not saying you should. It's good to have a background in these. In fact, the one nice thing about these ICER and NICER is that in the first year, you don't have to actually choose your subject when you join. You just join. And in your first year, you study everything. You study maths, physics, chemistry, bio. You study basics of everything. And then you can decide. For specific courses, really, I'm saying make sure your 10th, your 11th and 12th understanding, make sure you actually understand the subject material. Like if you're, don't worry about specific courses, like understand broadly, try to actually, like if you're studying physics, right? You should try to actually see if you can derive things, read it, see if you can try and derive things by yourself, try and work out problems. Like don't just rely on memorizing definitions and so on. Like try and figure out how things work. Yeah, so I think there are some great recommendations in the chat. A PhD is not a course. A PhD is research. You will find a research problem, so something no one has done before, and you will work on it. It's definitely not a course. It is not something you can just study. It is something you work on, and you read papers, and there's no syllabus, right? There's something you have to understand what is going on, and you have to write a thesis, so it's not a course. It's definitely not a course. Yeah, so my English is because I have spent, since 2010, I have not been inside Tamil Nadu for more than 2 months at a time. So you need to really don't worry about it. Watch English shows, read books. That helps. And if you get the opportunity to speak with people, do that. But okay, thank you very much, everyone. I think maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then it will be time for me to leave. But if you have anything more in detail, my email address is, maybe I will put it in the chat. This is my email, kuomadan@gmail.com. Please email me if you have any questions. I will try and get back to you.
Okay, thank you, Abadan. Great questions from students and sent to you. When you have time, you can reply to us. Please wait for 2 more minutes. Let us conclude formally. Abhishek.
Yes, sure.
Abhishek?
Sir, am I audible?
Abhishek?
Sir?
Yes, yes.
Am I audible,
yes, 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 yes.
Thank you so much, Amudan, sir. It's really helpful for us. Now I call upon Master Runik Kabilan M of Standard 11 to propose the vote of thanks.
My pleasant greetings to you all. Showing gratitude is one of the simplest and most powerful things that one can do for each other. It gives me immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks in this evening. First and foremost, I thank God Almighty for His graciousness. I want to thank our resource person, Dr. K.U. Amudan, for honoring this event with his inspirational speech. You have insisted us not to choose the job which gives only the luxurious life. Rather, you have to choose the job which gives you more interest and the happiness lifelong. This really opened up our minds, and we'll promise you that we'll choose our career where we work wholeheartedly and with happiness. Once again, thank you, sir. I would like to thank correspondent sir, principal ma'am, and vice principal ma'am for arranging this informative event. I would like to render my gratitude to academic supervisors, parents, teachers, and all my dear friends for making this event a grand success. Once again, I thank one and all present here. Thank you.
Thank you, Amudan, for the wonderful session. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, students, the session. Thank you all. Fill the feedback form so that it will help us to. Thank you, Deenabandhan.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Amudan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.